Hi, welcome to a video by Samsung Asset Management in Hong Kong. My name is Gary Ng and I'm joined here by Ryan Kim, and we are the portfolio managers for the Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund. The Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund focuses on investing in faster growing companies in emerging markets. In our daily work, we study companies and observe many interesting trends in this dynamic and fast growing region. So today, we would like to share with you three key messages. Number one, the longer term investment opportunities that we see in emerging markets. Number two, the market outlook this year in 2021. And three, how the Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund aims to capitalize on these long-term growth trends. Emerging market economies are progressing, and we are increasingly seeing companies getting more innovative and adopting newer technologies to deliver rapid growth. Within emerging markets, we think Asia is one of the brightest spots in terms of widespread technological adoption. In 2019, the Asian offices of the WIPO, which is the World Intellectual Property Organization, received 2.1 million patent filings. This is double of what they had filed a decade ago, 5 times of what we see in Europe, and 3 times of the United States. We think this is a reflection of Asian businesses relying more on technology and innovating to capture higher growth opportunities. By countries, we think China is now among the world's leaders in innovation with 1.4 million patent filings. For the rest of emerging markets, innovation is also gaining pace in countries like Vietnam, India, and the Philippines, which have all made considerable progress in the WIPO rankings. Within China, technological innovation is evolving across industries, and we summarize them into 3 main dimensions. First, in technological breakthroughs, we see mobile services providers rolling out 5G services, local manufacturers making their own semiconductor chips, and companies increasingly focusing on artificial intelligence and cloud migration. Second, with new products and services being introduced, consumer lifestyles are also evolving. They are increasingly shopping online, paying and investing through fintech platforms, and buying new consumer electronic products with new features enabled by the Internet of Things. Thirdly, corporate and government policies are also shifting. Among corporates, supply chains are localizing and deglobalizing around the world. Governments have set decarbonization targets and are also increasingly focused in renewable energy and solar and wind. In the rest of emerging markets, we see similar trends like e-commerce, online gaming, and the localization of manufacturing activities, as these growth trends follow the lead of China and developed countries. The extent of innovation may not be as widespread as in China, but they are in an earlier and highest growth phase and can similarly scale rapidly over the next few years. In Southeast Asia, we are positive on e-commerce, where we think the industry is 5 years behind China. E-commerce adoption was already growing at a high pace and had accelerated during COVID-19 last year. We believe it should continue its rapid growth phase in the years to come. In India, we are optimistic on the localization of manufacturing activities as more global brands increasingly make their products in India, enabled by the government's productivity-linked incentive scheme. We believe the manufacturing industry is still in its early stages of growth and have great growth potential. In the Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund, we aim to capture these high growth opportunities for our investors, and to manage the risk, we carefully select the industry leaders with strong competitive advantages, higher earnings visibility, and strong management. By investing in these well-managed companies in these multi-year growth stories, we believe earnings compounding at higher levels can lead to healthy returns for our investors over the longer term. To recap, in 2020, the coronavirus brought on the worst global pandemic in over 100 years. It impacted our lives in many ways and also brought one of history's biggest economic shocks, forcing countries into lockdowns around the world and swiftly bringing us into a global recession. However, central banks and governments quickly responded with aggressive monetary policy and fiscal policy easing, and this prevented a downward spiral of meltdowns, and credit crunches like past crises quickly restored investor confidence and alleviated economic impact. As a result, markets bottomed out quickly in March, and 2020 actually proved to be a good year for stock markets, where the MSCI Emerging Market Index generated a healthy return of 16% in US dollar terms. As we move into 2021, with the easing of lockdowns, administering of COVID-19 vaccine, and the US fiscal stimulus package to jumpstart economic growth, the pathway for a strong global economic recovery becomes clearer. Furthermore, a recovery in commodity prices will be conducive to commodity exporting countries like Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Africa, and Malaysia to help with trade balances and the balance of payments. In monetary policy, the Federal Reserve projects interest rates will stay low for years and to continue buying bonds. As such, monetary policy normalization should not be as disruptive as it did during taper tantrum in 2013. Furthermore, balance of payments for most parts of emerging market countries has improved since then, so it puts the region in good stead as interest rates normalize. Overall, we expect 2021 to be a healthy year for emerging markets. Along the way, we will likely go through periods of consolidation from time to time. However, we should also remember we are still in the early stages of the economic recovery, and history suggests returns tends to be positive if we look further out in the next few years.
첨언을 드리자면 글로벌 신흥국 지수의 약 15%를 구성하는 중남미와 동유럽 시장을 펀드는 지속해서 비중을 낮게 유지할 계획입니다. 올해 GDP 성장 면에서 중남미 실질 성장률이 4.7%, 동유럽은 3.8%를 기록할 것으로 예상되는데 여전히 코로나 바이러스가 확산되고 있어서 경기 회복 리스크가 크기에 백신 접종이 확단되는 하반기 이전에는 박스권 등락을 거듭할 것이라고 예상하고 있습니다. 특히 중남미는 세 번째 바이러스 확산세가 진행 중이고 여전히 1일 15만 명 이상의 확진자가 발생하고 있습니다. 따라서 실제 그 경기 회복이 나타나기 전까지는 금융과 시크리컬 중심의 중남미와 동유럽 리스크를 통제하되 혁신 성장을 보이는 인터넷과 핀테크 기업을 선별해서 투자할 계획입니다.
Moving to the last section on investment strategy, the Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund remains focused on identifying well-managed and fast-growing companies all around emerging markets that are less sensitive to changes in macroeconomic trends. In this slide, we show some examples of the growth trends we are positive on, where we believe the industry can grow multiple times of its size in the next 5 years. For example, solar energy can double in power generation mix in China, while e-commerce in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand can also double as a percentage of retail sales. We also expect larger growth potential in electric vehicles in China, as well as in the Make in India campaign as elaborated earlier. In constructing this portfolio, we position the Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund as a differentiated product among emerging market funds. Instead of tracking the benchmark, we position this portfolio to give investors diversified access to faster growing companies in emerging markets with an active weight of about 70%. We also try to manage risk by being selective and solely investing in quality companies. To sum up, there is widespread innovation across emerging markets where the market offers opportunities to structural growth trends which can compound over the next few years. By countries, China is one of the global leaders in innovation, but the rest of emerging markets also present early-stage growth opportunities. Moving into 2021, monetary and fiscal policies remain conducive and macroeconomic fundamentals are stable. Bear in mind, 2021 is still only the first year of the economic recovery since COVID, so we're still in the early stages. Portfolio-wise, we think the Samsung Emerging Dynamic Fund is a differentiated product which gives investors access to a diversified pool of higher growth companies in emerging markets. The fund's performance in the past 1 to 2 years has been encouraging so far, and we maintain our bottom-up, growth-centric investment philosophy. We will continue to be vigilant in spotting risks and also be proactive in identifying opportunities for our investors. So that's all for our key messages today. We hope we found this video useful. On behalf of Samsung Asset Management, we thank you for your attention.
감사합니다.